Joe Rutgens is one of those people you either know or you know someone who knows him. I've heard about the man for years, but I hadn't had the chance to meet him. He was born in Cedar Point, played football at LP and then at Illinois, and he was taken by two teams in the 1961 pro football drafts. First by the upstart Oakland Raiders, and then by the more established Washington Redskins. And soon enough, he had fans in the Mid Atlantic region and beyond. I was on the air last week. It was the 100th anniversary of the first game at Memorial Stadium at U of I, and I asked listeners for their memories. And Joe Rutgens called in, a guy who had made lots of memories himself on that field at Memorial Stadium. So he shared some memories and agreed to call me back during the week so I could interview him at length about his life and career. Now, what Wikipedia will tell you about Joe Rutgens is that he was a defensive tackle for the Washington Redskins of the National Football League. He went to two Pro Bowls during his 9-year career. He played college football for the Illinois Fighting Illini and was selected in the first round of the 1961 draft with third overall pick. Rutgens was also selected in the first round of the 1961 AFL draft by the Raiders, as I said. Excellent. But when Joe Rutgens agreed to sit down with me, I wanted to know the stuff that he shares when he's out and about here at home. And we thought it was good timing, too, sitting with him the week of the Bears game at Washington. And I got so much, I really couldn't put it all into one video, so I'll run the rest in the near future. He's a wonderful guy, as anyone who knows him can tell you. He was kind enough to have me over to his house for this interview, and it was really a nice visit, and I hope you'll agree. Thanks to Kathleen Wayland of Wayland Financial in LaSalle for sponsoring Tom's Take each weekend. This weekend, you'll meet Joe Rutgens at his Spring Valley home. I asked him how, as a senior at LP, he came to attend Illinois in the late 1950s.
It was, well, I had my two high school coaches were both graduates of Illinois and both played football there. And they both wanted me to really go there. And in fact, I almost didn't go because at that time it was what they had, scholarship was grant and aid. They just started it. And my mom and dad both working, I didn't qualify for a scholarship. So in order for me to go, I was going to have to pay for everything myself. And so I decided to go to junior college. I told John Strell I was going to come out here to LPO. Well, Ray Elliott got a hold of me and my two high school coaches, and they got me convinced to go. They got me a job working for my meals at a fraternity washing dishes. So my first semester, that's what I did. And paid for my own tuition and books. And then my mother quit working, and so then we reapplied for a scholarship and I got a full ride. And so after that, then I didn't have to do dishes anymore.
Interesting how that worked out. Your mom stopped working, and then you got to stop working too.
Right.
Well, that must have been quite a change for you. Although it sounds like your coaches were preparing you for that kind of step to go to the next level. Do you think when you got there, you were ready to play there?
Not really. It was a big difference. There was so many even players on the team, almost as many people out for between the varsity and the freshmen as in the town I lived in, Cedar Point. So it was a big difference with the amount of people and the size of the stadium. And it took a little getting used to, but I did.
What was it like walking out your first maybe big game out in the field, walking out of that stadium when it was full of people? Back in the day, Illinois was so strong. What was it like?
It's hard to say, really. It was just real nervous until the first play. Until you got the first hit in, then everything seemed to be all right. But until then, the stomach was turning and rolling, and it was quite an adventure. I really enjoyed it.
So you played for your college career there, and what you were drafted both in the NFL and the AFL.
Yes, at that time.
Tell me about how that all worked for you.
Well, at that time, the American League was only starting their second year. and they were playing in high school stadiums, and so I found out on Thanksgiving Day. Well, it wasn't Thanksgiving weekend. It was at our banquet. Our season was over, and one of the reporters come and said, "You were drafted #1 by Oakland Raiders." I said, "I was?" And I never heard a word from them. Never got a letter, a telegram, a phone call until we were out in San Francisco playing in the East-West Shrine game. And they came over. And it happened, my roommate out there was from Pittsburgh, Myron Patios, who was their #2 pick, who ended up, he went to Notre Dame, and he ended up playing for Pittsburgh then. And he didn't hear from him. So and then the Redskins had their draft about a month later, and they drafted me #1, and I signed with them right away. I kind of knew the assistant coach out there, Abe Gibron, and he was big in getting me to go there. So
He later went to the Bears?
yeah.
Yes, and he was coach there for
Right.
about 1970 time frame, somewhere in there.
Late 50s. I was still playing. I
Okay,
think.
gotcha.
Or the late 60s, I mean, not
Yeah,
50s,
late
60s.
What was it about Washington that excited you to go there? Was there anything about the system that they were in, or the area, the fans?
It was the area, being in the capital of the United States and near the White House, and there was a lot to see. It was a big tourist town, and it was a nice area to live in. I lived in Virginia most of the time, which is right connected to it. In fact, the stadium was right on the Potomac River.
Was it Griffith Stadium back then?
The first year was, but we only practiced there. We played our game in the new stadium. It was the first year of it, and but we had to share. We couldn't practice there because we also was the baseball team playing there. So we were at Griffith Stadium doing our practice, which was a real LP High School is a lot better.
You're in the middle of part 1 of a chat that I had with Joe Rutgens. You can see this and other videos at the Starved Rock Media channel on YouTube. Here's more. When you watch it now, when you look back on it, what are you most proud of in your time as a player?
Well, I think, being selected to go to the Pro Bowl a couple of years and being voted most valuable player at the University of Illinois when I graduated, and being most valuable player a couple of years at the Redskins. But it's some big names, Sonny Jurgensen, Bobby Mitchell, Charlie Taylor, all people that are in the Hall of Fame, and I was selected most valuable player a few years, so I was proud of that.
Do you still pull for Washington in your heart?
I still do.
Be pulling for them against the Bears on Sunday?
Well, I'm still a Redskin, even though they're not anymore. There's something with me and the Indians.
I was going to say, first you lost the Chief,
Yeah.
and then you lost the Redskin. What is that?
I don't know.
You've been through all the culture wars.
And and really the Redskins, the Indians really, a lot of them are wanted back because they don't feel it was being dishonorable to them.
How do you feel about the Chief?
Same thing. People used to enjoy just going and watching him. They'd go down for the game just to watch him at halftime.
And he was always good every year. Whoever it was always good.
And they got a free scholarship to go to school. And so all they did was take away an education for somebody. And
wow. It's such a different game today, but what do you think about, do you have advice for high school kids now who may be watching this, who maybe have a dream to pursue? Did you have that dream too?
I didn't really think when I was in high school when I started about going to college and playing professional ball was the farthest thing from my mind at that time. just the more you played and the farther you went. I did learn a few things, though. That the most important thing was get your degree when you are in school. I didn't graduate because I never missed class. It's one thing I learned is don't skip classes, because when it comes down to it, if you're right on the line of this or an A or a B or whatever, if you were there and tried, they're going to give you a break.
Right.
And I never really failed in the class until my last semester of college.
Really?
And that was, I had signed a contract, and I was out in a bunch of bowl games, the East-West Shrine game, the Hula Bowl, and the All-American Bowl. And I just took a little extra time off. But after my first year of pros, I went back and finished and got my degree.
You told me the story about how you gave Dick Butkus a tour when he came down. Can you share that memory?
Well, Dick was coming down as a recruit. And what they used to do is have a couple players take a recruit out, take him out to eat, take him to a show or whatever, and just overnight. And then Ed Obradovich, who played later on for the Bears, and I were going to take Dick out, or we did. And that, they give you so much money to spend on him. So Ed and I, we took him, gave him a couple bucks, sent him to the show and gave him a couple dollars to eat, and Ed and I went out and did a little party.
It's your own thing.
We figured he was going to go there because his brothers played there, and we figured he's going to Illinois. He's not going anywhere
Well,
else.
still, you might have had something to do with that sales job, so you can take some credit for that. You kind of just kept him on no leash at all. Go ahead and do what you want to do.
Right. Enjoy yourself.
My thanks to Joe Rutgens for sharing stories I'm sure he's shared millions of times, but sharing them again here. I'll run the rest of this interview in the coming weeks. For now, though, thank you to Joe Rutgens, and thank you to my sponsor, Kathleen Wayland of Wayland Financial in LaSalle. And I'll talk to you in the morning.